So as we know, Arlecchino is finally becoming playable, as confirmed on Genshin's social medias. Since she's been drip marketed, we now know that she's going to become playable at some point in 4.6. So let's talk about it, and subscribe if you're excited for her. Oh, also, this video might contain some spoilers regarding the Fontaine Archon quest and character voice lines, so if you're not already caught up on the Archon quests, I would suggest you finish that before watching this. Ready? Let's go. My English degree is about to get used for the first time in 5 years because we're going to be analysing what has been said about her in her drip marketing to get a better understanding of what she's all about. Fate grants favours for no one. Only those who would fight it with every ounce of their being may earn the right to challenge it. This was said by Pierro, one of the Fatui Harbingers. So, he's an Arlecchino fanboy confirmed. Love that for him, I wish him all the best on his pulls. Jokes aside, let's break this down. This statement gives a very similar sentiment to what Navia said about Arlecchino during their conversation during the Archon quest.
It's no wonder that people always say that prophecies represent fate. Fortunately, I've never been one for such opinions.
So, you're one who will try to change fate then?
Of course.
Arlecchino seems to be the embodiment of getting what she wants, even if it means pulling off the impossible to do so. It seems like once she's made up her mind on something, she won't stop to achieve it. This is backed up by how she handles her negotiations with Nubulettes, as even when she gets blatantly and outrightly refused, she still doesn't let up.
I request that child be turned over to Snezhnaya. We have a responsibility to cooperate with Fontaine and resolve what has happened to him together.
The rules governing attorneys only apply before a trial has concluded. Since a verdict has already been rendered, we see the case as settled. I apologize for being unable to grant your request.
An outright refusal. Okay, why don't we back up a step? You don't need to transfer child to us. I only request to enter the Fortress of Meropide to see child and confirm his condition.
The Fortress of Meropide has always been completely autonomous. Even we have no authority to interfere there, and diplomatic issues do not suffice as an excuse. However, if you absolutely must confirm the situation of the Harbinger, I have a proposal.
This next one is pretty long, so I'll have a timestamp for it if you don't want to hear me reading the whole thing. Once I've read it, let's talk about it. God, what is this, a book club? I don't even read books. To this day, Arlecchino still recalls that night when she was first appointed as Harbinger. Up the stairs and down the long gallery, with naught to see through the windows but a world of ice and snow without ends. The biting wind wailed loudly, now as mirthful laughter, now as somber farewell. With the start, Arlecchino came to, the hallucinations of her memory mingling with the sounds of real-life conversation that surrounded her. The hearth fire burned with vigour, its gentle warmth pervading the room, and its red lights glowed on the children's faces, lighting up their innocent, unaffected smiles. If some unformed passerby were to stumble in at that precise moment, they would surely mistake the scene before them for that of an ordinary, happy family. But just as Arlecchino raised her steaming cup to take a sip of the scalding hot black tea, the clock began to chime, and within an instant, the laughter and cheer that filled the room were now banished. The flames flickered so that, for a moment, the lights faltered, the faces of all present cast in sombre expression. Placing her cup back down, Arlecchino stood up and, in a calm, measured tone, called out several names. Chaplu, you're with Linny. Retrieve the required intelligence. Volts, you and Filiol are on guard duty. Stay back and tend to the hearth. Yes, father. Without a redundant syllable, nor a hint of hesitation, they answered as one. Not long after, the fire had dwindled, and the house fallen utterly silent, with nothing to be seen but a single shaft of infiltrating moonlight, peeking through a gap in the curtains upon a cup of gradually cooling tea. From my understanding, the description is in reference to how even on her first day as a Harbinger, Arlecchino maintains total control, though you can see that she somewhat has a soul, for a brief moment before work begins anyway. In the beginning, we seem to catch Arlecchino in the midst of a flashback. This memory consists of her being able to see nothing but the sight of never-ending snow and biting winds through the windows. I'm going to assume, based on the short video that Hoyoverse released on her not too long ago, that this is a memory from when she was a small child living in the house of the hearth. For this, Let's look at the animation itself. It's known that her and the previous knave clashed, and Arlecchino ended up succeeding her, and this animation gives us an idea as to how that happens. The previous knave would always go on about how no betrayal in the house was tolerated, yet that's exactly what she was doing with the children. As, for example, she forced a child to burn down the village. She was a manipulative puppet master who used these children as pawns, and it's clear in this that Arlecchino didn't like seeing these kids upset, and as a result, it's possible that this clash ended up resulting in Arlecchino killing the previous knave and taking her place. This incident is probably why Child especially doesn't trust her.
But I don't like her at all. If she stood to benefit from betraying others, she'd turn against the Tsaritsa in a heartbeat. There isn't a sane bone in her body.
Child senses that she will betray anyone if it fits her, which is true. Her betrayal of the previous knave turned the House of the Hearth into a more tolerable place. If Arlecchino was able to betray someone in power before, there's no stopping her from doing it again, even if it is the Tsaritsa. She's in this game for herself, her own morals, and her own goals. But back to what I was saying before though. Her flashback of the house is a cold one, but ends up getting tuned out by the warmth of the fire and the innocence and unaffected nature of the children in today's house. From what we know about Arlecchino's backstory already, we know that she rules the House of the Hearth as not much of an iron fist in comparison to the previous knave, which is why for the most part, Lily, Lynette and Fremine all have good things to say about her.
Oh. How Father expresses love, well, not everyone can accept it. But it is only because of Father that home can be called home.
When I was little, I was taught that we should be ready to give our lives for our family. But when Father took control, this philosophy changed. Father said that every one of us is important, and we have to value our own lives, be our strongest selves, and stand on our own 2 feet in this world.
Father gave us a family, raised us, and told each of us what we should work towards. In turn, what I can do is very simple. Remain loyal and protect our home.
If you want to be a cynic about this, she uses this to gain total control. The children are extremely loyal to her in exchange for her showing more leniency than before. But then again, she made the orphanage a more tolerable place for the children than before, and from voice lines, she makes it seem like she genuinely cares for them.
The House of the Hearth is very important to me. You should know that I care deeply about my children.
Even in the Harbinger teaser, it's clear that she doesn't like it when the children are upset.
So why don't you keep your mouths shut? We don't want to make the children cry.
So I guess we'll find out more about her motives in 4.6. Of course, she definitely rules the house with strictness when needed. The happy scene suddenly turns serious as the clock chimes, and Arlecchino has complete control over the next steps. It's some sort of assignment giving time in the orphanage, and everyone knows this. They know when playtime is over, and when it's time to get back to Fatui-related business. The scene ends with the orphanage being lit with nothing but the moonlight peeking through a gap in the curtains upon a cup of gradually cooling tea that was once scalding hot only moments ago. There was a moment of bliss, but ultimately, when it was time to get back to business, her sense of control came to fruition, ending the scene in almost pure darkness and coldness. Likely just how she remembers the house from when she was younger. But these were just my observations and guesses. I probably missed a ton, or you probably have differing thoughts to me. Stuff like this is subjective until things are made canon in the game itself. So what do you think of all this? If 4.6 doesn't get delayed, Arlecchino will be playable on one of these 2 dates. If her banner is in the first half, she'll be playable on April 24th. If her banner is in the second half, she'll be playable on May 15th. In my opinion, because this whole video has pretty much been my opinion, since she's a Harbinger, I feel like she's going to be very interesting, as all of the Fatui Harbingers thus far have had cool gameplay styles to them. Child wields dual stances, if you count Wanderer, he can fly, so Arlecchino is probably going to be just as cool, if not cooler. Plus, she's Pyro, so if you're in need of a new Pyro unit, as well as a Fatui Harbinger, I really don't think you can go wrong with that. Pyro is a favoured element within the Genshin community, at least in my opinion, so I'm sure that she'll do the element even more justice. Otherwise, if you're a total hater of Arlecchino or the Fatui in general, then I'm not your mum, I'm not gonna tell you what to do. You're free to pull for whoever you want, and free not to pull for characters that you don't want, regardless of how hyped the community is over them or not. But I want to know your thoughts. What do you think of Arlecchino? What do you think is going to happen in 4.6 regarding her? This video has been quite different, but I wanted to make it because I'm just so excited. I can finally use my wishes that I've been saving up since the Fontaine Overture teaser dropped. And I'm sure that fellow Arlecchino enjoys watching this may have got something out of it too. Like I said at the beginning, if you're hyped for her, subscribe, because when she comes out, I have at least 300 wishes for her, which I will be streaming on my Twitch and uploading onto here. It will be my biggest summoning session to date. I also have a new ongoing short series documenting these last few weeks of me saving for Arlecchino. So thanks for watching, follow my socials, and comment this bird emoji. Watch this space. Peace!